Okay, we're going to try and record this video despite the noise in the background. Um, our student has the white pieces and develops pretty good. He's got center influence and is getting ready to get his king safe without too much complication. He does castle at the first opportunity, which in this case is on move 4, which is very good. Black is attempting to get his king safe at the next opportunity. And here we see the just random development move. It is worthy of note that the e4 pawn only appears to be under attack. This pawn only appears to be under attack, but as long as the king is behind the pawn after it's captured, there is going to be a little bit of a subtle threat. Say, for example, knight takes pawn. Well, let's just do something else. Let's say if we play c3, for example. Knight takes pawn, queen here. The computer is suggesting that the bishop takes f2 right away because we're attacking the knight right now, and that's going to be 2 pieces for the pawn. But let's just say he doesn't do that. If he attempts to run, for example, knight back to f6, then we have the simple, let's try to get our pawn back right now. The pawn cannot capture because of the pin on the king. That's putting pressure on the king. Obviously, knight takes pawn is not a move. The bishop is under attack, forcing the bishop to retreat. Now let's look after the bishop retreats, for example. Now we simply play pawn takes pawn, and it is us who maintains the influence over the center. Black is still not castled. We're ready to continue our attack by either pushing a pawn, moving the rook, or something of that nature. So this would have been an alternative plan to the rather basic let me just get my knight out. Notice the pressure that black is under right away and all of the opportunities that exist for white. That didn't happen. Instead, the very calm, almost defensive knight c3 was played, putting absolutely no pressure on our opponent. The game continued. Black decided to challenge white's bishop, and there was a capture. I don't agree with this capture. I never agree with capturing for the sake of just capturing. In this case, I suspect that our student captured the knight because he saw that he was going to win a pawn in the middle of the board. That is not enough to justify this capture. I believe that the bishop head would have been more dangerous to black had it been left on the board, possibly provoking some additional weaknesses in the position. For example, we can still grab this pawn. If black castles, there is the possibility of knight takes pawn, knight takes knight, and then pawn fork, grabbing the material right back. If the bishop retreats, then we have pawn grab or f4. Either one of those is good. I kind of favor f4 in this particular position because even if the knight tries to run, it doesn't matter where he goes. We have another fork waiting in the cut. So let's just say we take the computer move knight here. We do have this pawn push at the end of the day, and there's still our fork. So we get our piece back, and look what we've done to the center. We have huge control over the center. Our bishop is ready to come back to life along the light diagonals, and it is black who is under pressure. So again, that's another alternative plan in that particular position. I don't agree with the very simple bishop takes knight. Anyway, the game continued. Capture, he grabs the pawn, and now it is black who puts the pressure on the e file, but there is no king on the e1 square, so there's nothing to worry about there. In this case, just simply retreating would have been interesting. Let's take a look at retreating. If knight captures, queen captures, and then rook e1 is GG. So that's an illusion that there was a pawn hanging there, so there was no need to try to put any pressure on that square. He could have just moved his knight out of the way, but instead he chose to push a pawn here, attacking the bishop, and the bishop retreated along this diagonal, which is not totally bad, but it begs to say, or begs to suggest, what is going to happen with black's king. The game continues. There's some pressure here. Now, I thought this was a good move. Putting pressure on the pinned piece is natural. For example, if the knight comes to g4, knight g4, it's going to be a big problem for black, especially if we don't capture the knight right away and we play e5. Let's see what happened in the game. He develops his dark square bishop. Instead of playing knight g4, he captured. Right here, this looks like a good move that could be played. This looks like a good move that could be played. Double attack on this knight. Um, if the queen decides to move, perhaps we just grab it, or do we attack, or what do we do here? Oh, he's on the knight twice, so we do have to grab it now, and then capture, and then tickle. I like this plan. I like this plan that's being suggested by the computer. Any queen move and any queen retreat is going to be favoring us. It is black's king that's stuck in the middle. Either side of the board is going to be complicated, and I don't know if you can see over here in the corner, but it's already giving white a 4-pawn advantage. So simply putting pressure on the pinned piece instead of just simply capturing again has given us a significant advantage. All right, so the game actually continued this way, and now the knight comes back, and black is not grabbing the pawn. There's a retreat. White goes ahead and puts his rook on the semi-open file, and here we saw a pawn push. I'm not a fan of this particular pawn push because we already have good influence over the center. Pushing the pawn to d5 gives the the light square bishop scope. It says to the light square bishop, hey, do you want to get in the game? Well, why not? We allow you to get into the game for free. So pawn push. And now here comes the blunder. Um, White's knight is under attack, and White in the game did not actually do anything about this. He left his knight on pre and tried to come up with a counterattack by saying, hey, I'm going to take your bishop if you take my knight. But he ignored the fact that there was going to be a discovered attack along his queen. This is where we use the look both ways emote. So now there's two pieces under attack here. There's two pieces under attack, and this, my friends, is no bueno. This is not what you want. White is now losing, and anything after this point is really, nothing to look at. However, I should mention that this position arose. Let's see, here and here, and I don't know if you can see over here in the text, but we are on move 14. We are on move 14. So my suggestion that anybody under the rating of 1700 is going to make a mistake or inaccuracy in the first 15 moves is right here on the board. Right here on the board, it has showed up right on time. I'm not so sure that I want to go further because I don't really think that White is going to be able to save himself after this. It's just going to be too much. Yeah, there's too much. There is something that is worthy of note, however. For the record, beginners are often taught that once you get a material advantage to trade down, notice very carefully what black does with his pieces. He is not in a hurry to trade. It's white that initiates the trade. So there's the first trade. The rooks come off the board. Queen is moving around. Got a little check. King steps over. He grabs a pawn. Black is trying to open up white's king. Check, check, check. Trying to defend. And now rook takes pawn. Notice how he didn't take any opportunity to go after any of white's pieces. He just focused on the king. Another thing that's of interest here is 3 pieces aimed at the king has got to be a checkmate in there. Notice the queen, the rook, and the pawn. In this case, the bishop is also aiding and assisting. So this is what he did. He immediately started looking at the king once he got his advantage. So we're going to go back and just highlight this. Okay, after the knight was captured, there's a check. White is immediately putting pressure there. He tries to defend his f2 square. Queen gets tickled. Queen retreats. There's a retreat, an attack that is not mate worthy. Oh, it is mate worthy. I'm sorry. There is a mating attack on the h2 square. He defends against it. Black brings in more support. A trade of rooks takes place. Queen is going absolutely nowhere. I'm not even sure where this queen is going. Well, I take that back. I know where he's going. He's going to try to put some kind of pressure on the king, but those bishops are acting like pawns, so they're going to defend the king, infinitely. Gets his check, grabs a pawn, and now with the bishops aiming from a distance, the queen in front, the pawn, and the rook, there's just no way that white is going to be able to defend against this. So in summary, three pieces aimed at the king is GG, and that's essentially what happened. Um, so we did have our shots in the beginning of the game, and then we missed a simple counter tactic that allowed our queen to get discovered on. But there were some other opportunities, with our pins that we missed. All in all, an interesting game and something that we can learn from. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.